And really, I always say I'm the accidental YouTuber because really we build UL 508A control panels. We do PLC training, and we used to sell some smaller products, and sometimes they were a little, just like everything technical, it's a little difficult to understand how to use. So I started putting videos out there. Hey, here's how to use this device. The same product videos everybody does, and not only one day I was, I was looking because, like I said, most people don't realize, one, I should throw it back up a little bit. Everybody, first of all, guys, I'm camera shy. If you didn't know it, if you don't know it, that you should just hit the record button. I am camera shy. And so really, I was looking at it one day. I'm like, why are people watching this video? And it's like, oh, well, I guess it was informative. Never mind. It was not a good product video. It was just, hey, here's some good information about a product. And so I started just realizing, hey, maybe I can carve out a niche and just giving people information, about automation. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it. I don't know how deep you want to go.
No, that is great. And I would encourage people to go check out some of Tim's YouTube videos, which I have done. And I didn't know because, we're in a manufacturing mafia group and I see Tim and that, but I didn't really know exactly. I know you did something to do with panels and stuff. But I went and watched the videos. I'm like, oh, it was really interesting because obviously you do a great job on organizing your videos, and clearly you've been doing this for a while too. So you have your videos organized, you have great titles on them. So I was able to learn the difference between an engineer and a technician. That was fascinating, the car analogy. So I would encourage people, even that are listening from the manufacturing world, to go check out some of his videos. And because let's just talk a little bit before we get into the YouTube side about, you really talk about, the technician side, which is being a troubleshooter. Can you just talk a little bit about that for any of the operations people listening in? So they may want to reach out to you.
Yeah, the bulk of what we do is really field troubleshooting. So we're not as much, we will kind of design panels in some cases, but usually somebody's already engineered a panel. We're building it, installing it somewhere. And then, when it doesn't work, we're the ones they call to figure out why it doesn't work. And that particular video there, I was trying, and there's, talking about storytelling, we could probably go on a long rabbit trail about it, is really, I get so frustrated because people do, well, we sent them to a programming school and they still don't know how to troubleshoot. And I'm like, where in that class did it say troubleshooting? And so I do believe that is kind of the niche that we are in. So you have automation. You're right, and you and I are both there. But we definitely are in two different lanes. But even then, yes, we're into the control panels and all that. But even then, we want to help you keep your existing machines running. That's kind of where we're at.
Okay, I love that. And this is why I think you're also doing well on YouTube. You're able to explain that so succinctly as to what you do, because people who have a niche, that's also where they do really well. So congratulations on that. So I know a lot of people, we're getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if that's me or, okay. Anyways, we'll see. There we go. So let's talk about YouTube. And you've been on YouTube for quite a while now. Can you talk about, now we talked a little bit before, and I know you've been on, you started your first, okay, we'll just say you had your first video, we're back around 2007, but really your channel started when would you say, if you're putting a flag in the ground of a date?
Well, with the channel that I have today, 2014, I did have a previous channel, and it was one of those, it was a company channel, and that's what people did then. And I was a little scared at first. I'm like, can I just make a channel and just call it me and really just build, hey, and then, for a long time, all my videos started with, hi, this is Tim, but because it's like, I don't want to be TW Controls. I don't want to be any of that. I just want to be a guy that will help you out with that. But as far as that channel started in 2014.
Okay. You also said something really interesting there about just starting out as you. And that's how I actually started on Twitter. That was probably my first. I started back in just around 2007, 8 on Twitter, and decided, yes, just and that's how I got Gail Now, actually, was I couldn't think of a name. And I said, well, I need something now. I was getting ready to go to a trade show. So I said, Gail Now. And then I thought, oh, I can change it later.
It never happens. Yeah.
So when you decided to go into, so would you say YouTube was more just you kind of drifted into it as opposed to a business plan, or how did you?
You're a business plan. I mean, no, it was absolutely positively. There was no plan for it. I mean, and people ask me, because that's the first, YouTube has certain things. You got to get to 100 subscribers. You got to get to 1,000 subscribers. You got to get to 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. People are, how do you get your first 1,000 subscribers? And I'm like, I don't know, because I had about 4,000 before I figured out where to go look at your subscriber count. But no, I mean, really, we were trying to sell products like a lot of people are. And we just had some really horrible product videos showing just the product and me talking through how to use it. And that was really it. So no, we were probably into maybe, well, I would say 2014. That's kind of when all of a sudden I decided it. So we'll call it 2009 to 2014 was more of just, no, it wasn't even in a business plan.
So it was testing the waters, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one of the things you suggested to me, and I have started that because I do believe that, the best time to start is like now. And that was one of the videos I did yesterday, is that the best time to start on anything. And often you have to start even before you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So you had suggested doing, I think you said 300 videos, just get 300 videos. Now, I know that might have been it. Let's talk a little bit about that. For people that are listening today, if they are thinking about YouTube, what would be and maybe they have some other social media. Let's assume that they've got some other social media under their feet. And they're ready to take it to the next level. What would you recommend?
Hit the record button. I mean, I know that sounds really simple, but really hit the record button. And initially, don't worry about the mic. Don't worry about, the background. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about having the right camera. Everybody has a phone. It has a record on it. Just hit the record button. And I may have said 300. It probably is 100 at least. But just start putting videos out, because it's going to do two things. One, I talk to a lot of people about this, and probably 20 videos in, a lot of people are going to say, no, this isn't for me, because I think people think it's just you magically post it and everything just happens. And it doesn't really work that way. Also to hit the record button, just because Gail, you can go on an Easter egg hunt, but if you go and find, and my first video is still on YouTube. I will not tell you where it is, but I might give somebody a prize if they find my first video. But
oh, now you've really made it a challenge. And now you say a prize. I think Katie, game on.
I'm horribly awkward in it. And I mean, like horrifically awkward. And if you look at me in 2009, I'm just as awkward, because I'd only put out probably 20 videos since. And you look at me even at, let's say 2013, it still is. I mean, if I had just sat there and just dropped video after video, just whatever, watch the word whatever, not whatever, but just started trying it, I could have honed all this in a whole lot quicker and wouldn't figured out whether I want to do it or not. But also probably the more important one is figuring out really what audience do you want to serve? Mm-hmm. Because, you and I, we're in the same industry broadly, but obviously we're in two very different narrow niches. And so you'll start to define that. And really my initial videos did not serve my audience as far as technicians. And I wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. I really wasn't happy in it. And all of a sudden, I found them when, I'm like, oh, hey, I found my people here. This is where I want to be.
Well, and it's much like anything else in networking, or even when you're starting out in any business, right? You have to sometimes do some trial and error and throw some stuff out, right? I mean, it's very rare you'll hear that, work you did like I was a reporter in a past life. And if you went back and looked at some of my initial articles, I'd probably be horrified too, right? I mean, it was like, oh, that was the lead I used. Ooh, that was kind of I mean, luckily, I always say, thankfully, in newspaper business, we had editors. And I bow down to editors because they do such a wonderful job. And, you know, I've been in an editing role too. So it's always easier to edit someone else's too. So in terms of now what you're doing, so again, let's go back. You talked about you were doing some videos, but you didn't do very many videos in those early days, was it?
You know, I'd have to go back and look, but my wild guess between 2007 and 2013, I'd say 75 to 100 videos.
Okay.
So very sporadic, very, you know, I thought everyone had to be perfect. And boy, it takes a long time to make a perfect video, especially in our industry. With my talent, I don't have your talent or gift, you know, as far as being in front of the camera. So,
well, now I look at you. I think you have great talent. I watch your videos. You're entertaining. You have humor. So, see, again, this is where I just did a video today talking about what can we learn from Ted Lasso in manufacturing marketing, which is be curious, not judgmental. And it's not just judgmental of others. We judge ourselves like much more harshly than we'd even judge other people. We actually think, oh, we don't, you know, look right. Background's not good. Now let's go to a couple of comments because we do have, so we are, which is I think LinkedIn, this is all the universe is unfolding as it should, because now we need to do more talking on YouTube. So everybody go to my YouTube channel and go to Tim's today. It is funny that LinkedIn of all times today, this is the first time in my live, I'd say that LinkedIn. So thank you. So we have, oh, wait a minute. Katie says, I can't wait to learn more about YouTubing. I hope to be here one day. Thank you.
I'll be here today. Just go ahead and hit the record button as soon as you get off of here and just make a video.
There you go. Okay, what's our next one is that now she wrote GTG now. I don't know if that means.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. But I don't think so.
No.
She's not laughing. Then she says, you can check out my first videos too. So darn embarrassing. I bet you they're not. I think they're probably endearing. There's a difference. I think it's me that's getting flat. Why am I getting? That's because I went on. There we go. Okay. Let's go to, sorry, and girl, stop. So I'll let you do it. So I just watched my fave geologist on YouTube yesterday, where he talked about when he first went live and how things have changed and what a large audience he has. Check out my present there. And then she said, the prize, Gail, I had to go leave to win the prize. You gotta wait till
I will be impressed if someone finds it. I've left it out there, and it's one of those. It's like, oh wow. Let's just kind of have the, you know, you're talking about when did I stake my flag in YouTube? Well, there you go. I could still say it was 2007. So.
Okay, well, and now you have a prize. See, now you've created a whole buzz about this. See, this is fun. Now we must find, and I bet you that I will find that it's endearing, not as bad as what you think. Because there was only once I remember having I'll just say there was someone that said they didn't show up well on photos. And it was someone that I had worked for. And I looked at the photo after it came back. We were doing headshots, and I came and I said, yeah, no, you don't look good in a photo. And people said, you said that to him? And I go, yeah. And I said, that's why after that, he knew he could trust me because I wasn't BSing him. I'm like, no, you really do. And in real life, he presented so well. Photo, he just was that person. Didn't look good in photos. So, okay. I'm going to, okay, let's see. Okay. So that is all. Let me see. I'm going to check here. Okay. So Inger's saying, I'm having microphone issues. It says mic, but the mic is plugged in.
No,
But
you're good now. I think that was when all of a sudden you went quiet for a little bit when you were moving.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm good now. But I'm hearing feedback, which is, are you hearing any feedback?
No, you sound great.
Okay. Then
But
I'll
along
just.
with that, it's a good time to say, hey, don't worry about those little things when, it's because, so I'll tell a story of myself. The first time I went live, because I am severely camera shy. I mean, and people are surprised at that, but I was all set up to do a quick panel build. I'm like, I'm going to do live. And I sat there and stared at the button for an hour, and it's like, well, what if this goes wrong? What does this go wrong? And I finally did it, and it went fine. And then, so all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, this works well. So I went live the next time the power went out. So don't worry about all those things. You'll find, and here's the most important thing. Once you start really finding your audience isn't going to mind those things. They appreciate what you're doing, and they appreciate the content that you're providing to them. And, so if there's an and an or, you fumble through your words, as long as you are helping them, then they're not going to care.
Yes. And one of the things I love about live is that things happen just like that. And the reason I do address it is sometimes I'm like, okay, I want other people to know it's okay to do that too. And it's okay to just, it's almost like if something goes wrong, I've learned this from public speaking, like say something happens in the room, like don't pretend it didn't happen. Sometimes you got to address it. Like someone's phone goes off and, as long as you can use humor is always good too.
Yeah.
Now we have, here's someone, I don't know if this is someone, Devin Cortez. Thanks for doing this. I started in the food industry and now I'm doing electrical engineering for the metals industry, starting to learn PLC programming soon. Wow.
Oh, good, Devin. Well, we've got some how-tos to help you out with that. So check them out.
Yes. I love that you have videos that are, thank you. Manufacturing hype girl, your audience will understand, even help out. Live is real life. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. In terms of how to, let's go back to those videos that people have to get started on or need to get started on now. What do you said have a phone? Any other tips you'd give to get started?
I mean, really, I can't say it enough, but just hitting that record button is that. And you don't need an intro. You don't need you don't need to spend your logo or anything. Really just hit it and try to connect with the audience, try to relay something to the audience, and one, figure out whether you like doing it or not, but also then, who is the audience? And keep narrowing it down till you find really those specific people that you really enjoy making videos for.
That is great what you said about your audience. And I can say this as someone who works on a lot of content development. One of the things that's always recommended is make sure you're answering the questions that your audience needs to know the answer to, not just what you're trying to sell them.
Yeah. Well, and also, especially as far as YouTube, don't go searching YouTube and being like, okay, I like doing this particular thing, but this looks like it'd get more views. One, forget about views. Views don't matter. Throw the views out the window. but really, make sure you're making something that really you have a passion for. Because there's lots of audiences out there, but if it's something you're miserable doing, there's no need in doing it. But make sure that you're making, that you don't go chasing views. Chase answering that one person's question. I always it's the most embarrassing video I have now. I do regret making it, but a little bit more about how I actually defined who I am and everything is we were making these really strict how-tos. And then finally I made a video kind of along the same lines. It was like, okay, here's how to use my product. But then they're like, hey, well, where do I download the software for this thing that your product connects to? So I made a video on how to download that software. And then finally somebody sent me a message and they're like, hey, I loved your video on, how to download this. Can you make a video on control panels that isn't so boring? And yeah, our industry, and especially in 2015-ish. Yeah, there was no way. And so I wanted to learn I did not know how to clip. I did not know how to move, mix clips or any of that stuff at the time. And I was like, well, I'm going to use this as an opportunity. Plus, part of it was I did have the opportunity. We had a panel that we had built, and then the project stalled. So I pretty much had a $20,000 boat anchor sitting in the shop. And so I decided to make the video. And now everybody calls it the Dancing Lady video. But it was my attempt to mix humor and a how-to. And it really it defined the way we do our videos after that, because I don't know how many it has now, but it has at least 300,000 views now. And it was intended for one guy, and it was a joke. But that's goes back to record, hit the record button first time. And if you had asked me the day before that, would you ever make a video like that? I'd be like, nah. I mean, what for?
I like that you said too, you made it for in person and you were having fun with it, because those are the ones sometimes that will take off. And I've learned that from TikTok.
Yeah. We have had some good discussions about TikTok.
And there is a bit of a correlation between TikTok and YouTube in the sense of sometimes you just have to hit record. I have a lot of videos in my drafts because I start to do it, then I go, nope. But then later I'll post it. And this is the joke of people on TikTok. They'll say, oh, I'm cleaning out my drafts, right? So, and the ones that are most natural, those do well on TikTok. But my goal on TikTok is different than my goal on YouTube, as is the audience, right? The audiences are different. And just like the audience on LinkedIn is different than audience on Twitter. So
yeah,
it's helpful to know that. And I think when you're looking at YouTube, one of the things that you do well is the idea of education as well as promotion. Can you maybe talk about that for people in manufacturing that are listening? I work in mold making, but as well as automation. So the educational side of things, how important is it to do that and, hitting that record button and then educating?
Well, before that, I was somebody else I was talking to about, I think I have 3 videos where I actually say that I run a panel building company, and that is what we do. You don't necessarily have to throw a pitch into every one. I mean, realistically, the magic rule, and there is no, I shouldn't say that was a magic rule. It's the golden rule, they say, is about 20% of them should be a pitch. So you got 80% out there to really connect with your audience and give them some information to, help them. I mean, we're here live here, and there's 2 trainers in the background. I mean, it doesn't, somebody can figure out, okay, that is the company, and you don't need to do that. So then just start trying to figure out, okay, how can I help them? How can, what is something I can teach them? And then for me, and I do think this is something that's unique to me. I'm not saying it's good or bad, as I try to make sure I'm right on their level and learning with them. In fact, so I just recorded a video on this trainer. That's why it's sitting here. And I didn't know how to do it when I hit the record button. So literally it is me learning with you how to do something. And I leave it in there. I'm like, oops, that didn't work. But and a lot of people comment on that. They're like, hey, thanks. I did the same mistake, and your video helped me figure out how to fix my mistake. So try to be as genuine as possible, and just help them. For us, our thing is helping you get to the next level as a technician, helping you become a better technician. So it's just, what can I do to help you to get to that next step?
Well, and as I said, what I loved about your channel too is that even for someone like myself that works in marketing, so often I'm looking to learn about different aspects of manufacturing, and I learned some things from your channel. And I think that's also helpful, because sometimes what I hear in certain areas when I'm talking about sharing content is they go, well, everybody knows that. Let's talk about that.
So I have a great series getting ready to come out, and it's not hidden now. We've got a couple of posts about it, but I was at Phoenix Contact the other week, and I I felt like I'm a pretty good panel builder, but I learned so much up there. And really, and that was our big thing is let's break this down into some really basics that anyone can understand. And I mean simple things. It's like a circuit breaker. It's like I thought I knew how it worked, and he got to explain it. I'm like, man, I never knew any of that. So never assume, and you do hear that in our industry. You know, as you already know, it's like no, to act like I don't know, because then I found out, guys, I didn't know this stuff. Yes.
And the same thing happens in marketing. You know, there is so much to learn. And it changes. You know, I find there's things like, oh, wait a minute. You know, and I follow, of course, we'll do a shout out to Jake Hall, because we actually met through Jake Hall, and, you know, watching and learning from him. I mean, he is a machine, just like, and his generosity of time and sharing is just, it's amazing. And so, like you said, there's, okay, let's back up a step. When people are searching for things and they're coming to YouTube, it's not only people that you may be selling to. Can you maybe talk about that, about who's coming and how that is important to get also people that may be coming to learn, other decision makers in the company, shall we say?
Yeah, that's probably the most important part about as far as why we at least initially started our how-to, we'll call it the how-to videos, is no one comes to YouTube and is going to search and you're going to have the magic product that they're looking for. People search YouTube now, well, in our industry, now, yes, people search YouTube to check out cute kittens and do all types of things. But our industry, for the most part, if they're searching YouTube, they have a problem. And so my goal with mine is really, how can I help them with that problem that day? And I'm not going to get a sell out of it. But, you know, then they're going to search again. Oh, there's that guy again. And he has the answer again. And then you're going to search again. And then my hope is that they're like, hey, you know, I need some better, I need some better skills. I've really got to up my game. Let's go call that guy and see if we can get into one of his training sessions. Or, hey, he keeps using the same device and I've got my way that takes 10 times longer. Let me go ahead and buy one of them. But yeah, it's a long, you know, YouTube is a long game. And I think that's why there's, going back to whatever I threw out there, 300 videos, 100 videos, is so important, because that, you know, there is no magic return, and you're going to get, I mean, you're talking sometimes years, you know. But now I will say that I would say a tremendous portion of the people that buy from us in some way have found us on YouTube or have seen us on YouTube. That's probably the better term for it. So and that's where I almost, you know, actually I was in a class not too long ago trying to, you know, up my YouTube game. And that's one of the biggest critiques I had was, hey, you don't have any sales videos. And they're right. You do need a few, but for the most part, you know, if you'll help the person out, they're going to remember you later on. And if they go and they keep searching and you keep showing up, then they're going to be like, well, let's go check out this guy's website. You don't need to say, hey, check out my website. You know what I mean? Actually, you don't even need to say, I know I shouted out to subscribe just because I'm like, yeah, everybody goes subscribe, because, you know, that's part of what this is. You don't need to shout subscribe. You don't need to shout all those things. You just need to help whoever it is with the thing that they're searching for.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I agree. If you're going to err on any side, more on the education and on the sales, and you're right, people will come to you. But just what you said about YouTube, I think applies to pretty much all social media, but it also applies in person, because you don't usually just go knock on someone's door. You don't go to a trade show and automatically walk, especially with the long time frames for selling in manufacturing. So it's rare that you're going to just go to one trade show, post one YouTube video or 10 videos. So I think the same applies, that it's the long game. But I don't think it's any different on social media than in real life.
I don't either. Yeah, I love that you mentioned the trade show because it really bothered me. I was at a trade show not too long ago. I'm getting ready to go to another one in a few weeks. And I just really think anyone working a trade show booth should have to go to some type of, well, let's call it trade show sales class beforehand. Even if it's a crash course, because I would walk into one and two, I mean, and I do. I wear this shirt, this is what I was wearing. And first, it would be brand X. And they're like, so do you have an upcoming application for brand X? It's like, you just left yourself with just a strict no. You left yourself no way to go anywhere. And then they'd be like, so what does TW do? Like, well, it's me right now. I'm at a trade show. But it's like, yeah, some of them, I wish they would think a little bit further into that. There's one guy did do it well. And he had obviously seen a post I made on LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm at this trade show. I'm trying to figure this out. And he came up to me and said, hey, I saw your post and I saw you're trying to figure this out. I think I have something that may help you. Could I have 5 minutes of your time? Now, in the end, he didn't have what I need, but you better believe I remembered him. And I've reached out to him several times and we've kept talking. And, now we are 3 months later, all of a sudden I'm like, you know what he was talking about? I think I have something I can use for, so that's where we do have to, whether it's in person, trade show, YouTube, or any of them. Yeah. You got to think a little, well, all of them, you got to think long-term.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's a really good real life example of, how it works in real life and on social. And I'm someone who comes from a background of before social. I mean, I did a lot of my living before there was all this social media. I was a reporter where we had to do a lot of research before there was Google. And now when I'm on social, it's the same rules apply. And I think this is what gets missed. And people think there's, the magic wand. And I have to say, there's no magic wand. It's not like, in real life, you do this. Oh, on social media, just, you do one post and you're going to get business. And I've talked to a lot of people on the show that have talked about, people still are doing emails and cold calls. And I said, if you're doing emails, unless you're doing email marketing the right way. And again, very few people, right? I mean, how many emails? I don't know how many you get. Like I get swamped. And what happens is
on a Wednesday, I'll get 900 emails. So, wow. So you better have a really good email if you actually want to get my attention.
Now let's talk about why Wednesday, because you have every third Wednesday you do. Is that because of your third Wednesday? Or why Wednesday?
Wednesday just seems to be the peak for our industry. I mean, we call it hump day. And if you look at our volume and everything, Wednesday's kind of where it is. So that's, yeah. So if you want to get a hold of me, you may want to send me an email on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, it is important to get creative about reaching out through, and this is another good tip as well. Go to where people are at. If someone's not that much, or that they're getting snowed under with email, find them. I found a lot of success on DMs on Twitter if they have that little mail list. I reach people that way. Sometimes it's a LinkedIn and sometimes I'm surprised. I'll send a message on LinkedIn and they have nothing on their LinkedIn page, and they get back to me. I was like, geez, I didn't even know if they were ever on here.
Yeah, and and there's were different ones. I think, going back to the whole target audience, my target audience on YouTube is obviously helping technicians, helping you become a better technician, kind of that niche. For me, LinkedIn is meeting you, meeting Jay Call, meeting, there's a lot of people there, but really that's what I love making those individual connections. So that's a very, good point. I may respond a lot quicker on that.
And it's also how you're saying. You just made that comment too about someone came up to you and they saw something on LinkedIn. They had a connection. They didn't come up and just try to sell you something that you didn't need. They had a legitimate reason to talk. I've met amazing people through listening to people on podcasts. I was on an event, virtual event. This was back at the start of the pandemic. And that's how I became friends with Harry Moser, was that it was like a live show. And I commented, And then I found him on LinkedIn, and I think he was like, wow, she was actually at the event and commented. And I followed up, and I needed his help with something. And he goes, for you, Gail, anything. And I was like, wow, that's now for those of you who don't know, Harry Moser heads up the reshoring initiative in the States, but he's a big supporter too of reshoring, talking about Canada as well. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's an important piece, as far as connecting with people. And I try to do that. We all have to set aside time for stuff. One thing I try to always set aside time is to find people that are doing a good job and just reach out to them and say, hey, you're doing a great job. No strings attached. I'm just like, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. I appreciate all your hard work.
Right.
And then, later on, I think that may be how Jake Hall and I actually got together. I'm sure I did. I know Chris Granger. That's what I did. I sent him a message, and it was like 3 months later. But all of a sudden, it's like, hey, I got a question for you about this. And but yeah, I think we do push the sales way too far to the front of a conversation.
Right. And it is about, showing up. You showed up. I can still remember the day I got an invite into the manufacturing market group, and I looked around. I was like, me? Like, what? And I didn't even know what this was. I was like, then I went and looked. I'm going, Jake Hall. I had been following him on LinkedIn. I was like, Jake Hall is it was kind of like I fangirled a bit over like Jake Hall was inviting me somewhere.
Well, but I remember my first message to you is, Chief Curiosity. I don't remember word for word, but I remember you were the Chief Curiosity Officer, and I'm like, what a great title! I'm like, hey, great to meet you. I love your title. And I think somebody just said something about you got to stop the scroll and stand out. I can't find it now, but yeah. It's doing that little thing, just to make and it's not, we don't need to be louder. Sometimes it's just being that little bit of, just quality.
And I love that you don't you're more of like shy. You don't like being on camera. And yet all of us watching, I would say the one word, Tim, about you're extremely endearing, which is such a compliment, because you come across as just like someone I right away, I liked you. And I'm like, oh, I could so see sitting down, having a beer with you or a drink and just like kicking back and like having a few laughs. And we're going to talk about trolls in a minute, but that's not the segue to go and look at our comments today.
Well, yeah, of those 900 emails, I'll tell you, not all of them are positive.
I would guess that, but that's the other thing. When you are out there putting your neck out, okay, not everybody's going to like you. So that's the other thing, as in life, not everybody's going to like you. So you kind of have to get over all of that angst about, and for some of us, I don't like that. I was like, oh, that person, why are they? But you got to get past it. So let's go back to some of our comments. I don't know if, where we left off in comments. So Devin, thank you. We watched lots of Tim's videos, very helpful. Yes. I'm going to say this, go subscribe on Tim's channel, because they are cool. Even if you just go get some ideas and I always look to see, how many likes, how many views, because it is kind of cool, the videos that got a lot of likes but there's someone that didn't get as much, but that's also, I want to stress, it may be that you get 30 views, but out of those, it really resonated. So thank you, Devin. Who else do we have in the house here? Thank you, everybody, for commenting. Okay, let's see. You know who takes great advantage of YouTube? Oh, Dave Chrysler, the king of process. I don't know. Do you know David Chrysler?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You got to meet him. He does shorts, and he also is on TikTok. He uses video a lot. Really great guy. Thank you, Katie, for a shout out to our man, Dave. Let's see who else. Yes, micro content is awesome. Maybe we'll come back and talk a little bit about that, about micro content, those shorts. I want to talk about shorts. Okay. Just like the KLT factor in action, Tim. Yes, no like, trust. So valuable.
It is.
Yes. The KLT, that is something Inger talks about a lot too when she's working with people on LinkedIn, is it's not just about having to, bare your soul. It's also about just talking about things that are important to you. It could be a motivational quote. It could be something that happened to you that day. I just did a post about cycling and steps, and I correlated that to, because I know, like, it made sense to me when I'm talking a process and how I got into cycling. It didn't happen overnight. I can now do, anywhere from 50 to 70 kilometers on a ride. If you had said that 2 years ago to me, I would have went, no way. But I found the process things and how I can enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and it is so important just to hit that again on the know, like, and trust. One thing I will do, somebody reaches out to me, and it's more of, hey, do you want to collaborate? Do you want, if there's some where it's like, okay, who is this person?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go look up LinkedIn, and I'm not looking for quality. I'm looking for a humanness. In other words, if every one of your posts is a product, I'm not interested.
Right.
I'm gonna move on. But even if it doesn't have to be that you love cats. It can be simply that you make some type of human comments. There's obviously some, you're not there just using one of the automated systems to make posts.
Yeah. No, variety and consistency. So the next comment we have, I think, is from Katie. If you can just reach one person, that person's reach goes further than yours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is also important. I'm just going to show that. And yes, Inger says, we must think long-term. It's always a long game.
Yeah.
For sure. And again, I can't stress enough, just as in real life, it's not that different. Katie did have to jump out, but I have to post this. She said, don't be talking trash about email marketing now. Now, I was not, if it's done properly. And Katie, we will have to talk about that. And maybe as a future guest, we'll talk about email. Because I do think there are emails I open up. There's emails, but not a lot of them.
Well, I mean, it's something I can do. I need to do better. And I'll acknowledge that part. It's, I hear people all the time on that. Oh, well, you got to grow your subscriber list. I'm like, okay, but what good does I do besides just sending out a bunch of emails? Going back to the, if you can reach the one person. If I could send an email to 10 people and 2 of them like it compared to, 10,000. And
well, and again, it depends on your goals and who your market is, right? Because we could be doing so many things better, and that's
the challenge. Yeah.
I think that's also important to address, is that you can't be everywhere. You can't do everything unless you have a very large budget, a large team. And a lot of people think social media is free, but it's not, because it takes time. And I also heard something recently. They said, YouTube isn't so much a social media platform as a content platform. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I think it can serve both audiences. Obviously, there are a lot of if you look at my daughter's YouTube feed compared to my YouTube feed, you would look at hers and absolutely it is a social media platform. I mean, you look at mine, it's like, it looks pretty boring and pretty how-to, and it's a content platform. And then we can mix in shorts and long videos into there too. YouTube, what they have done really good at is trying to put the right video in front of the right person. And so if you are there looking for social type content and, just continuously consuming that, they will feed that very well into, your recommended feed. Now, if you're using the search, that's more of, yes, at that point, it is a content platform where search works very well.
Yeah. No, it is. It's, all of these various platforms, it's all complicated. And yet it can be simple if we tend to overcomplicate things. I think that's the other thing. And I definitely find this in manufacturing. And I said that in my earlier videos that, the bar is set low, and that is not, and I don't mean that that's not an attack or a hit or anything negative. It just means there's so much opportunity. Well,
there's plenty of room for more people, and I'll say to help people. You want to put another product video on it, you're gonna have another video with 20 views. That's cool, but as far as really connecting and really helping people, there is plenty of room. Vlad with Solus PLC and I, we talk. We obviously are both very parallel paths, but there is room for both of us. And we both actually serve a very different audience, and that's what I see with our industry is, there is a lot of room to hit, a lot of different angles. And, and as far as, I do want to go to the bar command, because bar command, good grief. The bar, where is the bar set? Because that can be interpreted several different ways. And what I see, going back to me saying, just hit the record button, I see too many companies trying to make the perfect polished video. And again, back to our human connection, it has no human connection. You're not going to connect with an actual human being. And so the bar is kind of set low as far as, don't worry about it being perfect. Honestly, I'm not a great editor, but also I leave mistakes in there, even as far as, you might see my hand here, and then you may see a jump over here. Part of this, just so people realize, this guy's human. He's just sitting here. I mean, if you didn't know it, I don't have any editors. My son helps me. It is just me, Amber, 2 kids, and Mary Bruce. So.
I love that. Well, we've talked today we've definitely covered up the sign up, which is about mindset. And you know what? Mm-hmm. Just deciding you want to do this. The suiting up, which is the research and, getting comfortable. But really the showing up is that hitting that record button. And maybe, hitting that record button even while you're still doing some of the suit up type.
Yeah.
Don't wait until everything's perfect. Let's talk trolls, though. Trolls are your specialty kind of. You have so many stories, but... And because you have 47,000 subscribers, of course, you're probably going to attract people who don't agree with you. So do you have a favorite troll story?
Well, before I give a favorite troll story, that actually goes into my whole make 300 videos, because eventually the trolls are going to get to you. And and I actually quit YouTube for a year. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, if you look at my video feed, there is a year's gap there. And really, I am also soft-hearted. I'm camera shy and I'm soft-hearted, which is a horrible combination for this industry. And, but really they got to me. And finally it was like, it's not worth making a video just to have, it torn down. I mean, and really, there's a few. I've got a couple posts coming where I'm going to rip a couple people that are, continuously doing it, because people don't realize even a 4-minute video probably takes. I mean, by the time I actually set things up and get ready and all that, I mean, you're probably 3 or 4 hours, and it takes you 15 seconds to leave a bad comment. And some of the comments come out so fast that I know they didn't watch the whole video. But anyway, they did get to me, and I really quit. I quit doing YouTube. And when I got, every year we evaluate everything we do. I think it's an important step. And one of them was on there is YouTube, and I'm like, well, I haven't done this in a year, and really I don't see any value in it. And so it almost got deleted. But I started reading through the comments, and there were a lot of bad comments, but there are a lot of good comments that really I had left hanging. And all of a sudden I'm like, I forgot why I was here. And that kind of got me the wheels rolling again, and kind of, okay, why am I here? What am I making videos for? Who am I making videos for? And, so I started, making some again, and kind of got back in the groove. And it was a really difficult haul to get the wheels turning on them again. And really, one thing I will say about trolls, first of all, there's nothing wrong with deleting a bad comment. I know there's a lot of back and forth on that, and people are like, oh, just ignore it. Well, that's what I did. And what I've learned is if you let trolls in, it invites more trolls and more trolls and more trolls. And I tell people all the time, I wouldn't let you spray paint on the front of my house. Why would I let you spray paint on my channel? And so, yes, for the most part, I do delete them, but also sometimes it's just like, okay, you want to play that way? I can play that way too. So I always take it, I always take it off YouTube. Usually you'll find it over on LinkedIn, and I'll just post them. I also save a lot of them. Sometimes we do have a hater video, and I just go ahead and read the hater comments, and respond to them. But it goes back to why are you making videos? And here's where it gets really tricky because, going through the phases, first, you are going to make videos just because you think YouTube's fun. And, those first videos are really kind of wear that fun part out anyway and get you where you're making videos for a target audience. And then you're going to be making videos just because, okay, this is something someone asked for. And all right. And at that point, you are inviting other like-minded people who don't like your videos then. And so you got to go through that. But I love that you're the chief curiosity officer, because if you ask me today, why do you make videos? Almost all my videos are something I am curious about genuinely. And, then that's really, and it happens to be that, my audience, I am my audience. I am just like them. And that's where you got to end up landing, is in that narrow niche where your audience is really you I don't want to say exactly you, but yeah. So really someone asked me, in fact, this one here's about Modbus. I know you don't know what Modbus is, but they were like, hey, how do you do this on Modbus? I'm like, well, I have no idea, but I've always wondered that. And so then all of a sudden it's like, now we're ready to hit the record button. And so at that point, I really enjoy making videos because, hey, I'm learning something new. And yeah, I still do help someone with it. But the trolls, they never go away. And I'll say they never quit hurting. And, because I'm soft-hearted. So you never forget them. But, I always, I tell Amber all the time, I swear it takes 10 good comments to get rid of one bad one.
Well, Tim, I'm so glad you shared that story, because that is so heartfelt, and it really gives a good perspective about trolls, and, beyond making light of it, it really is, it's something, and we have way too much of it now on social. And that's a whole other issue, is I think people need to know that, there's ramifications when you're mean, and just for because sometimes it's too easy to drop those mean comments. So I really appreciate
because, you, but I'm not picking on it. Manufacturing hype girl, but you look over, that's manufacturing hype girl. That's not a person. And, we do with the internet, all of a sudden we have this wall where we don't really, you got to realize on the other end of every name, there is a person. Even on the end of company X, there is a person somewhere navigating in there that's actually running that social media channel that's having to deal with every comment that comes in.
Right. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and thank you again for signing up, suiting up, and showing up. And one last question: how do you exercise your curious mind?
Well, I guess I kind of just answered that. So yeah, I make YouTube videos about it.
Yes, I love that. Thank you again, Tim. We might have to do a part 2 at some point, getting into some more tips on, as maybe a follow-up. We'll do a critique of some of my videos after I've done it. And I would be open to that, because I think it's good to sometimes, have a real live experience of, I was going to show some videos today, but we didn't have the time. And I want to talk about the automation and the robots, and there's so much more we can talk about, but I'm going to have you
anytime you want. I want to make it up your way. We'll get up. Either one of us are going to cross the border, and
yes,
we'll have that beer.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Tim. I'm going to have you go to the green room, and I'll meet you in there in just a minute.
Okay.
What a great show today! I'm so happy that Tim Wilburn could be here and talking about YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you on my YouTube channel. So please go to Gail now. And I hope there aren't too many trolls. I hope we can just have some great comments. But I'm bracing myself now that, as I get out there, I might have some trolls show up, and that might be okay too. You know what? Sometimes we got to take the good with the bad, I guess. Also, I am on TikTok as Gail now, and there's all sorts of strange comments sometimes show up there. I'm on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and where else? You go to my website. So, you can find me lots of places, but mainly what I'm most excited about every week on my show is bringing on amazing people with amazing stories and ideas to share. Tim is just one example of someone who's doing that. So thank you, Tim. Thank you to the audience today for the comments, for the networking, and we'll see you next week.